Hello again, everybody. It's good to be with you again today, right here on the HenryT show. Man, I've been busy doing high school basketball, high school football down at Berlin the other day, that big rivalry, the Tigers and the Berlin Eagles. Woo! And the place they only let in about 35% of the fans, but I'll tell you, those fans bought every one of those available tickets so they could get in there and be a part of this football rivalry again. And it was good. It was a one sided event, 39 to nothing in favor of the Tigers, but man, they hit and they were creative and they threw the ball and they ran the ball. And it was just great to see it, great to feel it again. And the atmosphere was conducive for to pep us all up. It certainly pepped me up, believe me. And I hadn't done a broadcast for 8 years, and it took a while, but man, it came back. It was like bursting through, like the cheerleaders hold a big sign out there and the players run through it. It was like a big sign was there, and my voice ran right through the sign, and I was back. Whoosh! We struggled early, but we finished strong. And to talk about finishing strong, I have a friend today, great friend, Ed Nunez, graduate of Highland High School and the University of New Mexico, former North South All Star for the Hornets, played for Tom Hogue, officiated for several years, and a good one. In fact, I would put him in the great category because he was a player and he became a referee. And you know when you can do both? Oh man, what a blessing you give the kids because you've been a player, you've been in the fire. And then when you have that whistle, the credibility stands out. When you blow that whistle, you know what you're talking about because you've been there as a player. You know the rules instantaneously because you've literally had to learn them, every one of them, as a player. And then you reiterate the science and study when you're a referee. And some of it changes, but whatever is there, you can acclimate yourself. And that's what Ed has done. He's Mr. Acclamation. Good guy, married to Dee's beautiful wife, Dolores. He's got a son, a daughter-in-law, and a baby girl, granddaughter. Cutest thing you've ever seen. This is one of the most dedicated New Mexicans I've ever met. All he knows how to do is give, and he gives a lot from his big heart. And he displays happiness and appreciation for that happiness in such a big way with he and his beautiful wife Dolores, beautiful home. They love the grandchild. They just love. That's what they do. They give. Two kinds of people in this world, givers and takers. The Nunez family are big givers. What an honor for us to bring this man, versatile guy, to the television screen right now. Again, Ed Nunez, a very close friend of mine. I cherish our friendship, and he is a loyal friend. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Ed Nunez. How you doing, Coach?
Henry, I saw your interview with Mike Adams last week, and you gave him such a great introduction, and I'm humbled by that too. But I got to say, you know, you've taught me more than I'll ever teach you. We broadcast games together back at KDEF for the state tournament, and I owe you a lot in my broadcast career. I told people that in the third quarter of one of the games we were doing at the pit, I was your color guy, and I was content to be your color guy. And one time in the third quarter, you said to the audience, now making his debut as a play-by-play guy, Ed Nunez, totally out of the blue. And if I hadn't done that, I don't think I'd have ever become a play-by-play announcer. And I'm working with ProView Networks. I'm the voice of Western New Mexico, and those are things I take very seriously. I'm humbled by those, to be able to do those. But I learned a lot from you. I learned a lot from a lot of different broadcasters. I'm still trying to hone my craft, not by any means. You asked me, we talked about it yesterday about play-by-play announcing, and there's still a lot that I'm working on and trying to get better. But I always look at it like this: when I broadcast games with you, it was always for the kids. I always kept that in the back of my mind. Who's our listeners? The kids, the community, the parents, and right now, especially in COVID, where parents aren't allowed in basketball gyms, how important is the call? How important is to get the names right, pronounce the names right? How important is it to mention those kids out there? I did a game Saturday with my son at Sandia Boys in El Dorado, and I'll tell you something. For fans not being in the gym, those kids, once you put I liken it to a summer league game, because nobody's in the gym, but once you put those uniforms on and they announce the starting lineups, you ratchet the intensity up about 80-90%. And those kids played so hard that I'm like an athlete. Tim Dragmeister tells me that. He's a gym rat, right? Tim Dragmeister, the son of Dick Dragmeister, the former Great Western coach. You're a gym rat. I've always been a gym rat. So when I see those kids playing the way that they do, I get so hyped up. But I appreciate that introduction, and you and I will be friends till the forever. You've done a lot more for me than I'll ever do for you.
Well, it's an honor today, especially since we've been kind of like indoors for such a long time, respecting the COVID. And it's hit our world in such a hard way. But we know how it's hit our city and how it's affected our kids, and it's taken athletics away from the athletics and the scheduling that we're so accustomed to. What literally have you seen, and how the athlete, the coaches, the fans, the families have had to adjust to COVID?
That's a great question. Great question. I've had a couple of coaches that I know, and too, that came down with COVID. So it affected them personally, and their health. A couple of coaches came down with it pretty bad. I'm not going to mention any names. That's a private thing. So that they had to deal with that. The second thing was I talked to a couple of coaches, and that the public health department, they have to make sure pods of 5, all the public health department initiatives and guidelines are followed to a T. Otherwise, they'll shut the program down. That's number 2. Number 3, I think the mental health of a lot of kids not being able to see their coaches and get together socially. I think you and I took that for granted. I talked to Sandia head coach Jim Ottman, a great man. I have such respect for Coach Ottman. He speaks highly of you. You played football, basketball, and baseball at Sandia for Coach Ottman in football, and he mentions you in the highest terms. But think about what you also ran the boys club when I played for St. Pius Summer League back in the day. I never forgot that. So all the things that we were able to do, go out and play and run, and I went down to Whittier to go get a game down there. Coach Ray Rodriguez lived across the street from where I live. So we would go run to go play somewhere. All the things we took for granted, the kids couldn't do that for nearly a year. So think about that. There's some kids playing in, club ball or whatever, but all the things we take for granted. To see a HenryT, who is a very inspirational, just saying, hey, coach, I haven't seen you in person. We talk on the phone quite a bit. You're a great friend, but seeing you in person is different. I get the fist bump, coach. How's it going? Right. To see you personally is it lifts me up, right? Friendships lift you up. So think about the kids that haven't been able to do that for a year, right? And the teachers, we mentioned that, the band, the DECA, It's not just sports, the biology club, the chess club, right? All the things. And today they started school, by the way, first day in school. So I'm very glad that they're back in school. How important is that? So I think those are the things that I've seen. But I got to tell you one thing, Henry, you're going to laugh about this. After the game on Saturday, our Sandia Jackson Compaction player of the game, he scored 29. He comes up for the interview and he says, look, we didn't even see our team in the rankings. We're about a state championship. We're trying to win games here. Nobody respects us. I had to laugh. I had to laugh because that's what it's about, right? I was like, you know what? Good for you, man. Good for you. If you take that personally and you're going out there and competing, he scored 29. Again, a fantastic player. I think those are the things, the enthusiasm, the unbridled enthusiasm for kids that are competing in amateur athletics. You remember it. You've covered more games than any announcer in the history of the state of New Mexico. You covered YFL, you covered youth baseball, you covered it all. So you know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's so good to have things return to somewhat normal. You know, normality after the COVID is a story in itself. Where have we been? Where are we now? Where are we going? And you really, really painted the picture as to what it feels like, what it means. This young man scoring 29 points. How fired up was he? How much does it mean to him, Ed?
You know, Henry, I want to tell you this too, and that Sean Baker, the former great Highlands star, his son plays for Sandia. His son is a sophomore guard, Eli Lobato, and I coached Sean in Highland. I coached him. So I called Sean after the game, and Sean and I talked for about 30 minutes, right, about his son. And now his son, his son is 6'1", 180 as a sophomore. That's a build, right? He's built different than Sean. He's got bigger legs and a bigger behind than Sean did. I don't mean that in a bad way. He's quick, he's powerful. And me and Sean just, again, we're reminiscing about things that I remember when he played. This kid is so unselfish that I told Sean, tell him to shoot the ball a little bit more. That's how good this kid is. But he's so good that he wants to make sure he sets the table for everyone else. So the things that we, again, Sean Baker, how great was he? One of the greatest guards in New Mexico history, right? So I had an opportunity to coach him. Him and I are still close. And Henry, I want to ask you this. How many relationships have you established through sports throughout the years? Countless numbers, right? You can't even put your finger on it. There's no way. As many people, and Mike Adams said this last week, how many kids have heard you broadcast their games? A countless number have heard you broadcast their games. So the honor and the privilege we get for covering these games every night. I'm at Volcano Vista tonight. I've got Valley girls versus Volcano Vista girls. I talked to the Valley coach this morning. It's his first game. They haven't played yet, and they're taking on a Volcano Vista squad that's pretty darn good. But just in talking to him, we know similar people. He remembers when I played. We played some pickup ball against each other. And those conversations, as you know, can go on for hours until you're finally like, oh gosh, I got lost in it, right? I got lost in it because that's how much I love sports.
What's the quality of play like right now, given the fact they haven't practiced a lot? And now they've got this, put it together any way we can schedule. What's the quality of play, the quality of coaching, and are they allowing fans in the arenas?
That's a great question. No to the fans right now. We're not a green county. We're still yellow, so no to the fans yet. The second thing is the quality of play, and I talked to some coaches about this because they were in pods of 5. And remember, during the summer, we work on speed shooting. We work on conditioning. We work on weights. We work on a lot of different individual skills to make us better. And they couldn't do that. They couldn't work on any of that. A lot of those things were because of COVID, you couldn't work on it. So the level of play, I think, would surprise you and how good it's been. I go back to that game against Sandia and El Dorado on Saturday. The quality of the game was much better than I probably anticipated. It was the intensity. Now, at one point, Sandia makes a run, 8-0 run, and Coach Roy Sanchez calls timeout. The Sandia bench made enough noise for 200 people. Again, remember the excitement, Henry, the plays you saw your son play when he played for Sandia. Aaron was a heck of an athlete, a heck of a baseball player, a heck of a basketball player. And you saw that. You broadcast those games. How excited were you when and I remember seeing my son, right, and seeing him. And sometimes I remember I had to work on my voice, though, because I would get so excited, I'd go into the red, and I've definitely worked on that. But it's hard to contain that enthusiasm because you're seeing kids compete at an amateur level, and they're getting to do it after a year of being cooped up. So to your question there, I think you would be surprised on how good the play has been. You'd be very surprised.
You know, on a personal level, you're such a happy man, so content. You got a tranquil disposition to you because you got a beautiful wife who attends to you and loves you. You guys have great rapport. You love each other. You attend to one another. And it's so beautiful to see the relationship with you and your son. Oh, puts tears in your eyes. You got a beautiful granddaughter now, or excuse me. Yeah,
Yes, granddaughter.
that's the word. And you've got a daughter-in-law that loves you, and it's just one big ball of love. How do you describe your environment?
I retired in December of 2019 from the city after 30 years of service. And I remember when I retired, I thought, I'm used to serving, right? I loved my job with the city. I almost didn't want to go, but after 30 years, you top out at a certain percentage. And then, so it was the best move for me to retire. I served, I think I served well, but I missed that, right? I missed that service. And then last May, YDI had offered me a job, Youth Development Incorporated, with Robert Chavez, who does a great job over there. They do so many things. I'm so impressed. But at that time there, my son needed me to take care of my granddaughter. And the choice was easy. So, I declined at that time. And, the last 8 months, I took care of my granddaughter for 3 times a week. And it was one of the best times of my life because, her and I got so close. And I love that little girl like you can't believe, right? There's just no love to describe that. Then my wife retired in January of 2021, just recently. So she's able to join, Olivia Nicole, who's my granddaughter, and we get to see her 3 times a week. She's coming over today. So when she comes over, it's heaven, man. She runs out of the car and she runs to me. It's like, gosh, those are moments that you just can't describe, right? But I got to say this. You mentioned my wife and my best friend. I've been married to her for 32 years. And I understand how blessed I am to have her because when you take your vows in marriage, you talk about good times, you talk about bad, sickness and in health. And you know what? Not every marriage, you're going to go through ups and downs, right? You're going to go through peaks and valleys. I lost my mom and my dad. I was very sick when I was 50. And I always think about who's there for me when I was at my lowest ebb. Always been her, always. So, we're great companions. I can't tell you how much I love her. 32 years of marriage. I've been with her since I was 20. I'm 58 now. So I've been with her most all my life. And so I think it gets better when you get older. And you know what? I know I'm not going to be on this earth here forever. I can understand that. So I think I'm blessed to have the family that I have. You mentioned my son. My son, our son, I should say, my wife and I, we're very proud of him. We're very lucky. We're very proud of your son, Aaron. You should be. He's a heck of a great kid. Great kid. That's our legacies left on earth, right? My son, we did a game Saturday. He's my color commentator. Remember, he used to coach for Damian Segura at St. Pius. And you should hear him break the game down. I couldn't be prouder of him as an analyst. Him and I work together very, very well. And I don't know very many father-son team broadcasting teams. I really don't. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud of him. He just took a job with a new firm here in town about a month ago. He's an attorney. And, he's got things to learn too. I always tell him this, Henry, don't forget who you are. Don't ever forget who you came from, man. Where you came from, don't forget that. No matter where you think you're going, don't forget where you came from. We always talk about that. And he's a great kid. We're so close. So yes, Henry, I'm very blessed to have the relationships that I do in my life. You're right about that.
I think it's important to always go into the personal life if I can without being too private. And because here's the man, Ed Nunez, but there's love right behind you that enforces the great character, the great effort you're about, the dignity that you practice every day. I mean, you're a strong man because, wow, what a winning support team. Moving on, this community right now has been through some recent highlights. I point to the University of New Mexico football team and Danny Gonzalez coming back home and bringing with him the retired Rocky Long with them from San Diego State. They come together as a team, and what they've done together and the other coaches, they've changed the football atmosphere at UNM. Now they had 5,000 people at the recent spring game last Saturday. When was the last time we saw that kind of participation? But it was there. What does that mean to you for this football program to literally resemble what it does right now compared to what it used to resemble not too long ago? And what is responsible for the extreme positive change?
I think we know who it is. I think in Danny Gonzalez, we have a guy that's nothing against Coach Bob Davie, Coach Mike Loxley, but we've got a guy that's one of ours. We have a guy that went to Valley, that embraces New Mexico, that's a community guy, and believes in New Mexico and believes in New Mexico Lobos. He played here, and think about his mentors at Arizona State for a minute. You know, Rocky Long is his mentor, Marvin Lewis, the former NFL coach, and Herman Edwards. He's got great mentors. He's humble. He's got humility. More importantly, the dude's a New Mexican, and I don't mean that nobody can. You know, there's not outside people can come in here and coach. He's about it. He's about New Mexico. He's about Albuquerque. He's about the Lobos. Even when Coach Richard Pitino gets hired, who's in there at the stadium supporting him 100%. Coach Gonzalez is right there, right? And so again, remember, this is not a knock on Coach Davie, who had some success here, but Coach Davie in the offseason lives in Scottsdale. He doesn't live here in Albuquerque. And again, he can do whatever he wants. Coach Davie coached at Notre Dame, at Texas A&M. He's got some coaching skins on the wall. But this guy's one of us, man. He won the last 2 games of the season, right? My son and I went out there 2 weeks ago, and just the way they run practice from drill to drill, the way he coaches, the enthusiasm those guys have to play for him, you can tell. And you mentioned bringing Rocky Long back. How big was that? As a defensive coordinator, we had our most success as a program here with Rocky Long. Now, I go back to 1970. I'm a Lobo fan since 1970. I'm a Lobo graduate of 86. I love everything about the Lobos. And, I remember when Rudy Feldman was here, Bill Mott, Francione, Jolie Dunn, Joe Morrison. I remember all the coaches. I'm a huge follower of Lobo football. And I really think, and, I'm going to tell you this, Henry, Coach Jim Ottman, who's a former Lobo, right? He played for the Lobos, and he's a huge Lobo fan. You know that. And I was going to give him money back for the parking. He called a game with me on Friday at UNM Stadium, and I was going to pay him back. And he's like, "Don't worry about it. The money goes to UNM anyway." He's all about UNM. He told me that Coach Gonzalez is the one. He's really excited about the direction of the program because of Coach Gonzalez's personality and the way he draws people to believe in that program. And they had a great spring game. You mentioned that on Saturday. The running game is going to be with Bobby Cole, Aaron Dumas. Watch the running game, man. They're gonna hurt some people next year. And I think the defense. You remember this too. In COVID, Coach Long only was able to put in about 75%, maybe not even that much, of his defensive package. So this year, it's going to be a lot different. They're going to be hitting. They're going to be getting turnovers. They're going to be getting short fields for the offense. So I think the Lobo football program is definitely headed in the right direction.
Wow. Man, you explained that so well. Now, we had the young man, Isaiah Chavez, from Rio Rancho. Go out there and help the Lobos win their final 2 games of the year. Wow. And they did it in flamboyant, spectacular, dramatic fashion with that young quarterback from Rio Rancho. And, you know, he's a freshman. And now we get word that Coach Danny Gonzalez has hit a major coup opportunity. He found him a quarterback out of the SEC who attended Kentucky and 17-8 record at Kentucky, and he wants to come here. He wants to transfer to the University of New Mexico. A lot of things can happen there. What happens to Isaiah and the other quarterbacks? How much opportunity is this new young man going to get from Coach Gonzalez?
You know what? In my opinion, he's the starter. Now, that's not to say that Connor Ganal, one of the quarterbacks last year, Isaiah Chavez, and Trey Hall, they're going to get their chances. I don't think there's any question about that. Isaiah Chavez is a winner. He won the last 2 games of the season. He's a guy, to me, I think you'll see him get 8 to 10 snaps a game. But Terry Wilson, when Coach Gonzalez said he was looking for a transfer, I don't think you could have asked for a better guy to get than a guy that's won 17 games at Kentucky. I'm excited about that. Again, I think Isaiah Chavez will definitely see some snaps. He's a winner. Isaiah Chavez checks all the intangibles as far as leadership, winning. He had no scholarship last year. He was a walk-on. He won the last 2 games. And Coach Gonzalez said that. This is our quarterback. Somebody has to beat him out. But if you look at his intangibles as far as the height, it's kind of hard for him to see over the line. I'm not saying he can't be a good quarterback. I think he's a situational quarterback that comes in and you give him 8 to 10 snaps. But the starter to me is Terry Wilson. Now, that doesn't mean that Coach Gonzalez gives him the job, but Terry Wilson is a transfer guy, senior guy. He's not coming to sit the bench. If he sits the bench, that's a disappointment, I think. But again, I think Coach Gonzalez did a great job in getting Terry Wilson.
Well, this is one of those areas where UNM has not really hit the big jackpot player. Now they have an opportunity. I mean, you play in the SEC and you got a record that's there in the books of 17-8 against that kind of competition. What does that literally mean?
To me, again, we've been looking at Tabaka Tuioti. Don't forget him either. I forgot about Tabaka Tuioti. No, he's in the mix there, right? He's in the mix, but you got to remember he hasn't been cleared from concussion protocol, and that was a couple of weeks ago. And that concussion took place in November. So, I don't know what the plans are for Tabaka Tuioti. I think he would still be in the mix if he decides to come back. We'll see. But you mentioned Terry Wilson with 17-8 record in the SEC. He's not coming here to sit the bench, man. There's no way. And remember, Coach Gonzalez actively pursued. He said that in the paper. I need a transfer quarterback, and that's not to say he doesn't like Isaiah Chavez. We're talking about a taller quarterback. He's got probably some better overall skills than Isaiah Chavez, but I'm not saying Chavez probably is not the better runner and runs the option better. But I think Terry Wilson, as far as a pure passer, and he's got a little bit more experience on Isaiah Chavez, is most likely going to be the starter, I would think.
Well, give me your opinion as to what's going to happen.
I think I really believe Terry Wilson will come in and be the starter. When they announced again that he was coming in, I thought to myself, there's this guy, and Coach Gonzalez touted that. He said that in the paper. He's excited about bringing him in. He doesn't give jobs away, though. That's not that kind of guy that just says, this is your job. There's a running back that was having some problems during the spring, and, he hasn't met expectations. He's not back with the team yet. And Coach Gonzalez said, until he meets expectations, he won't play. I think, who doesn't love the guy? The guy's all about New Mexico. He's one of us, man. Again, I'm not saying that we don't embrace we embrace everybody that's about New Mexico, right? We do. But Coach Gonzalez went to Valley. Coach Gonzalez knows about New Mexico. He wears the colors proudly as a Lobo, as somebody that's lived here. It's a little bit different. Again, all due respect to all the coaches that came from the outside, but we got our guy, man. We got our guy. And you know what? The other thing I want to say, give Eddie Nunez, UNM athletic director Eddie Nunez, a big ton of credit for hiring Danny.
Wow. You said it all right there. The fan participation, selling tickets, having to go back to the drawing board. There was a game out there this past fall that maybe there was 100 fans in the stands at the end of the game. Maybe. But I doubt it. That was an empty stadium for the most part. So you go from that view, and I remember that memory too well, and then you go to the spring game where there's people everywhere, 5,000. And then you think, gee, Danny Gonzalez wants this place full. The last time Rocky Long was here, they averaged 38,000 people a game. I mean, that's 1,000 under capacity. So it was a full stadium when Rocky was last year. So you put all that together. Do we look forward to sellouts now?
You know what? I can't wait till the first game. I think it's Sam Houston State, September 2nd. I'm not sure. But I don't know about sellouts, but I remember the game that you're talking about when Coach Davies' last game. You're right. It might have been 100 people. And the apathy had set in, right? Nobody really cared about the program anymore. And I think that's been turned around. Remember last year, the challenges of them not getting to play in their own home state. They have to play on the road in Las Vegas. That's a huge challenge for Coach Gonzalez and the whole staff. That's a huge challenge for Coach Mike Bradbury, for Coach Paul Weir, not to play in your own home state. So that was a huge challenge. And there's a couple of games the Lobos probably should have won. They won the last two, and I think it's a great springboard into spring ball and into next season. So I don't know about sellouts, but I think the first game, you see 32,000. I really do. I really believe that.
Yeah, I really do. Now, we have a few minutes left. Lobo men's basketball. There is a very familiar name as the new head coach. Paul Weir and his guys, they gave it a great whirl. They gave it a great try. Countless amount of reasons why it didn't work. But now, Ed Nunez goes and gets a very familiar last name. Not Rick, but Richard, the son, formerly of Minnesota. And here he comes with a spectacular presentation at his press conference. And you look at him, here's a young guy, handsome young guy, energy, man, I tell you what, and he's a thoroughbred. Every Patino we'll ever meet is a thoroughbred veteran of the basketball war. And Rick, of course, man, at Providence and now Iona, at Kentucky, and all the places they've been, Louisville, such a great success story. And now his son, Richard, comes to New Mexico to take the place of Paul Weir. So much there. What does it mean to you?
I was a big fan of Coach Weir, and it's tough, right? He had it's a tough past season they had. I've been a fan since '70 of the New Mexico basketball team, and to be honest with you, this is one of the toughest seasons I ever saw. They struggled a lot. Now, I think UNM athletic director Eddie Nunez definitely brought in a name to sell tickets. There's no question. Now, again, I hope everything works out as far as Coach Pitino being able to recruit. With that name, I think that helps recruiting for sure. 141 and 123 overall at Minnesota. A little bit tougher in conference, 54-96, but they're playing in the Big Ten. If people remember, in January, Minnesota was 11-4 and ranked, I believe, they had beaten Michigan. They had some big wins. And so I think, again, they had some injuries. I'm looking forward to it. But remember, Henry, you're a marketing guy. Pitino in the pit will be seen on billboards and buses around town very soon, right? That's going to help ticket sales. And again, Eddie Nunez, UNM athletic director, has to think about the bottom line, right? And UNM basketball, let's face it, has always been the revenue king to support the other programs in the UNM athletic department. That's just the bottom line. But of course, I'm excited. I love Lobo basketball, so I'm very excited to see what coach who's he going to bring in here. Last rumor, McQuatch Malawach had said he wasn't going to return. Coach Pitino said he was going to talk to McQuatch Malawach about coming back. That'd be great to get him back. Byron Matos, the freshman, had said he may transfer. Coach Pitino said he was going to talk to him. So we'll see about who stays and who goes. But I'm excited to see who he's going to bring in as his first Lobo recruits. I'm very excited to see that.
A Pitino in New Mexico. Wow. And then I was so happy to see Rick Pitino land on his feet, go to Iona and go win a game in the NCAA tournament. And a Pitino on the sideline is special. Richard's got the same antics that his dad has. Man, it's like, it's their position. They have to be a part of this kind of a scene. And they both walk that scene so well. What are your early thoughts of Richard?
Well, again, he said all the right things, right? I went back and looked at his career. And if you think about it, now, of course, his father had major influence on him. That's his dad. But they said that working with Billy Donovan, the Florida coach, was really key in his coaching career. And remember, UNM athletic director Eddie Nunez had ties to Billy Donovan back in Florida. So that was a way that Eddie was going to go. A lot of people wanted to see Michael Cooper. That wasn't going to happen. There was no way that was going to happen. And that's not a knock on Coop. It's just Eddie Nunez had his mind, his eye on who he wanted, and that's who he wanted. So I think that's my initial thought. When you mentioned about the antics, I always think of Norm Ellenberger. Now, you covered him more than any broadcaster that I know. And Norm owned the pit. People forget that. No other coach owned the pit the way Norm did. And the way I say that is I never saw a cheer in the pit about any other coach storming in the pit. Yeah, I know you remember it well, right? Storming Norman bumper stickers, storming Norman sandwiches at Ned's. Nobody owned the pit like Norm Ellenberger. No other coach owned the pit like Coach Ellenberger. Not even close. So when you mention antics like his dad, I'd love to see Coach Pitino have that relationship with the fans of embrace the community. Embrace the community. Coach Weir embraced the community. Coach Bliss embraced the community. Coach Gary Colson embraced the community. As great a coach as Steve Alford was, I never thought he embraced our community. I didn't think Craig Neal embraced our community. I never thought they did. I'm not saying Steve Alford, 30-5 seasons don't grow on trees, right? Great coach. I don't think he was a community guy. I never thought that. I never did. So let's see if Coach Pitino embraces the community, and I bet he will.
Yeah, amen. I'm looking forward to it. Ed, you've had some great highlights as an athlete, as a referee, as a broadcaster. Before we go, let's kind of go back and regroup and reminisce and the greatest highlights of your competitive athletic life, your professional broadcasting, officiating, combine it all and bring me a couple of nuggets out of those great thrills.
That's a great question, Henry. That's a great question. I think one of them is definitely getting the chance to work with you as far as a broadcaster. I had hurt my knee in 2009 and I couldn't ref that year. and you brought me on as your color commentator. And I think I got the bug. I got the bug, and it never went away. It still hasn't gone away. I can't wait, and I'm still working on my craft. You and I talk about that. I listen to other broadcasters and try to get better, and I'm still very competitive with that. So that was a definite highlight, was getting to work with you. And anytime we get to work together, and I hope we get to work again, you never know what's going to happen there. I think as far as my reffing career, I got to do a 5A final with Hobbs and Clovis in the pit. And a lot of guys don't get to do that, man. And that's when Hank Basket was playing for Clovis and Ronald Ross was playing for, or Hank Basket was playing for Hobbs. Ronald Ross was playing for Clovis. 14,000 fans in the pit. And I got to tell you this real quick story. First 3 minutes of the game, the ball doesn't stop. There's not a timeout. It's just bang, bang, bang action. And finally, they call a media timeout, and I'm drenched in sweat already. And I said, when they called a media timeout, I said to myself, thank God. But I was running on pure adrenaline. So I think that's a definite highlight of my officiating career. In the athletic career, I had a decent career at Highland. I was very, very proud to represent Highland. Then I coached at Highland with Ray Rodriguez and Larry King. But I think the highlight there for sure was getting to play in that North-South All-Star game. You never forget that. That's when they had 12,000 at the pit for those games. Bubba Jennings played for the South. Wallace Williams played for the South. Ron Beach played for the North. Ernie Padilla played for the North. I'm still in contact with Ernie. Ernie Padilla just called me last Monday because these guys from Santa Fe, they're good guards. Cruz Martinez and Garcia. I can't remember his first name. Ernie calls me and says, were they better than Ernie Padilla? And I don't know what to say to that, but so there's great memories that I have. I'm still in contact with many of my North-South All-Star teammates. Ron Beach and I still talk. JC Beatty and I still talk. So I think, and as far as the broadcasting, I'm still making memories. I'm lucky to be the voice of Western New Mexico, man. I'm lucky to be able to do the things that I've been able to do. And I'm still looking forward to new memories. And like I said, you were a big part of that. And I always appreciate everything you did for my broadcasting career. You did a lot.
Wow. I want to share something with you. HenryT has become a writer and a filmmaker. And I really have a desire right now to be as creative, more so than I've ever been in my career. I'm putting together a book, Norm Ellenberger, The Real Story. Your thoughts on HenryT as a writer and a filmmaker, because I want that book to turn into a motion picture.
I can't think of anybody else that could write that about Coach Ellenberger. And I remember, and a lot of people just don't remember that. A lot of people, frankly speaking, weren't here when that happened. In 1977 and 1978, that's the best Lobo team I ever saw. They're ranked 4th in the nation. And those media seats were student seats. And the pit was off the chain every night. What I mean by that, excitement and noise that you've never heard in your life before, right? And Coach Ellenberger, again, the turquoise shirt, open, he had the jewelry, the tan, the guy who didn't love him. I love the guy. I remember going to practice to go watch when I could. And he never said, what are you guys doing here? He'd always say, hey guys, what's going on, man? How you doing? Always a personable guy. So I think to cover that part of Lobo basketball, and you were the voice back then, hang on to your seats, Lobo fans. Got a barn burner in the pit. You hear that from HenryT. I never forgot those calls. I don't know anybody better to cover that era of Lobo basketball than you. I mean, you have such great memories. You traveled with the team. You were on the planes. You had personal relationships with Mike Stewart from Del Norte, Colorado. Del Norte. They call it Del Norte. I remember all those things, man. So I can't think of anybody better to cover that era.
What a pleasure to have you today. God bless you and your wife, Dolores, and your son and daughter-in-law and that cute little girl. I love you guys. Love you like a brother. Thank you for being on the HenryT show today.
HenryT, was a pleasure. Love you too, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll do it again soon.
You bet.
Good luck to you, buddy.
Thanks, Henry. Have a good one.
Ed Nunez. Wow, only one Ed Nunez. Like I know Ed, you know Ed, that's Ed Nunez. Versatile, ooh, he can do it all and do it well. Now, as we end our show, We're going to talk to our producer, Jimmy Tran. With the COVID situation, where many of us are stuck, we can't go visit. We can't go see our granddaughters because of the danger, and it's real. And we have to be aware, cognizant of what can happen to us, what can happen to our little children if things aren't right on that day and the little children get infected or grandpa and grandma get infected. Jimmy Tran has a device that he has that'll fight off the danger. We bring Jimmy Tran on right now to show us and to talk about this wonder miracle machine. We bring on Jimmy right now to introduce it to you. Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Henry, can you hear me?
I can.
Sorry, my video is having a little trouble right now. I'm working on it, but we could still talk for a few minutes.
What do you have? What do you want to talk about?
I think the best way is let me show a quick 2-minute video that will highlight what, and then it describes how it works and everything, and then we can talk about it more.
Okay.
1 second here. So there you go, Henry.
Interesting. Now give me the details of why it's so effective and what you've seen, your experience so far, and why people are so attracted to this machine. What really is the need out there for families to go interact with their grandchildren and whomever in their family How can this machine aid their cause?
Well, one big thing about this machine is that it's an active purifier. So unlike filters and other devices that are out there that requires you to suck in all the air before it can be treated, this device does it completely different. It uses a different approach. The approach is real simple. It takes in air and then water molecules, and then it treats it and makes it into a, what they call hydroxyl particle, radicals that are naturally occurring outside because of the sun and everything that goes on out in the outside air. And we're able to replicate and simulate that with this device indoor. The air quality indoor compared to outdoor is so dramatically different, meaning that the concentration of those particles outside is 5 times as much as inside, which is why contaminations and so forth and spreading all that have only been shown to happen indoors, but not outdoors. So that's part of the reason. And when NASA discovered this back in the mid to late 90s, when they were in the space station, they were growing plants. They were, just causing problems for the astronauts and so forth. And so they came up with a new method, and this is what the technology was derived from.
And so far, what's been the reaction?
It's been great. A lot of places are putting it in as an extra measure of protection. So we're not saying get rid of everything that we're doing. We're just saying, let's put something in there that will make sure that it covers all the nooks and crannies, if you will, because you can't really clean enough. And that's what's been seen. So what we're trying to do is encourage people to put this in to their homes, to their businesses, so that the indoor air quality is improved. And by improving the indoor air quality, it also will improve overall health in general, because you're breathing in healthier air, but also it helps mitigate any spreading that could happen. I mean, they've done tests with this device in FDA compliant labs, as you saw in the video, that literally kills the virus within a few minutes. I mean, within 3 minutes, it reduces the amount of concentration in the air by 99.9%, over 99.9%. So that's like a huge difference. And it not only treats the air, but it also kills it on the surfaces too. So essentially, wherever air gets to, that, it carries this, and it uses the science called the law of gases to make that all work.
Was this device invented for the particular critical situation that presently exists?
No, actually, this thing has been around for over 20 years. Like I said, the technology was developed back in the mid 90s for NASA in the space station. And it has been evolved since then, and have been improved. And the company, formerly Electrolux, now Eris, and then of course now Active Pure Technologies, is the company that acquired the technology and improved on it and add to it over the last 15 years. And in 2017, actually, they won that Hall of Fame award. Similar technology that have won that award is the pacemaker. We've all heard of the pacemaker, right? LASIK, the surgery, we've heard of that. Tempur-Pedic, we've heard of that. And of course, we have all heard of GPS. GPS is another technology that was derived from space technology that then, used on Earth here, and won that prestigious award.
So this is inadvertent, accidental success with a machine that was already there. And now
you just need to get the word out.
It's really been put to use.
Correct. Yeah, literally when this whole thing kind of happened in last year, they sold out their whole stock, their inventory within a few weeks. I mean, it was incredible. And so they had to ramp up manufacturing and production to make sure that this is available on a wide scale worldwide, as well as here in the United States. So which is why I got involved, is because I'm working with clients and businesses. All my clients are retail and restaurants and so forth, and they're having trouble not just reopening, I mean, getting new customers, which is what I help them with. It's getting new customers, but also they were struggling with getting people to trust that it was safe to get out and be in their space again. And so we started introducing this to help them create that safe indoor space.
How can people get to you to purchase this amazing device?
Well, as you know, we were sponsoring the show here, and so if you you can call our number 505-207-8877, or you can text GameFace to that number. I'll put the number on the screen again real quick. So you can see that if you do that, then I'll get in touch with you, and we can help you get as many units. I mean, school systems are using it, and to me, this is kind of a solution that we've been looking for to help with a broader, like you were talking about earlier. We have all these games that are being played, but they're empty. There's no fans. Love to be able to put this in, so if people have connections with school, with places that are having a lot of people gather, I would love to be able to talk to them and help them get this in. And we have some great pricing options that will help to make this all work.
Now, do you have a cell phone people can get right to you?
Yes, that is my cell number, 505-207-8877. And we're offering, rebates and so forth. We're just trying to get this out to the community.
Jimmy, man, the miracle man, we really appreciate you. We appreciate this machine. And we say thank you for coming on the show today to inform us that it's available. Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Anything more before we say bye? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today on the HenryT Show. And thanks for Jimmy for expressing this new device so we can be close to normal again. Alden, thank you at ProView Network and of course GovTV, Comcast 26. We'll see you real soon. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. We'll see you on Wednesday.